Good afternoon, and thank you all so much for this opportunity. I greatly appreciate you allowing me to use your time to share my platform. And yes, I have my notes because if I don't follow this, I am passionate about this, and I'll be all over the room. And you'll be like, Felicia, go back, wait a minute. So, to keep my passion in check, I have written down what I need to share with you all today. So again, I want to first of all thank the South Rankin Rotary Club for welcoming me to speak with you all today. It is indeed my honor to be in the company of community leaders who are passionate about service and impact. So am I. I came here today not just to tell you what I do, but to share with you the why, the how, and the when behind something that has truly become a calling, I would say, for me. Turning pain into power through theater and therapy. It is a journey that started with a book, one single book called Sister Nadine's Ways. I had no idea I was going to end up writing two others and creating a series. It has now grown into a movement that I consider to be rooted in healing, creativity, and in hope. I would like to begin with the why. Why is this a story worth telling? So, why write a book about things that people are not comfortable talking about? Why center that book around trauma, religious hypocrisy, domestic violence, intergenerational trauma, and broken relationships that are sometimes covered up on Sunday mornings behind smiles? Why? Because silence is never safe. Okay? Silence is never safe. Because we should talk about things that are bothering us, because they shouldn't fester inside of us. Too many people, especially our youth and our teens, are drowning in pain they were never allowed to name. My own experiences, my personal experiences of generational traumas, of being a person of domestic violence, of being someone sexually assaulted by someone I trusted, all of those things, even observing it, can create traumas inside of us as youth and teens, even as adults, that we need to be able to talk about without feeling judged. Families that are damaged and dysfunctional due to members that are preferring to overlook or address traumatic behavior is also an area that we need to bring out more visibility and have discussion about. Churches that are preaching love while tolerating abuse by their members or ministerial staff, choosing not to acknowledge the hurt or to acknowledge mental health challenges with anything other than holy oil and prayers, and it'll be all right, you just pray about it, it'll go away. Parents that are hurting, and in turn passing their hurt down like it was a family tradition. Again, those are some of the whys. I wrote this book, this series called the Ways series, to crack open the silence, to give a voice to stories that have been buried under, we don't talk about that, or that's just the way he or she is, that's just how she is. And also to shine a light on the difference between the image and likeness when it comes to those who profess to be Christians, especially those who deem themselves on a higher pedestal than there's the other people whose sins are visible. My character in my book, Sister Nadine Simmons, she is the head usher of Greater Trials Missionary Baptist Church. And Sister Nadine prides herself on carrying herself in a manner that she considers to be holy. Well, yeah, she's got the image down pat, but in her house, she is raised in holy hell, so she doesn't have the likeness. And a lot of us deal with that. She has a daughter that is a cutter. Because of so much is going on in her home, she can't talk to her mother about it. She's afraid to tell anyone else because of the backlash, and so she is a cutter. Again, if she could talk about it, then maybe she wouldn't be putting her life, at risk, having these suicidal ideations.
It's a cutter, pardon me, it's cutter, meaning that she slashes.
She self-mutilates. Yes. And what we find out later on in the book is that's not just something she decided to do. It's really intergenerational when she finds out later on that her own mother did it. But her mother never talked to her about it. Again, don't have those discussions. You just put that to the back and move forward. And again, that starts to create the mental challenges that some of our youth and teens face, and then we also face as adults. Now I want to talk about the how, as far as the art, as using therapy and art as a way of healing, an act of healing. So again, the first book in my series is called The Ways, Sister Nadine's Ways, and it came from a place of fiction, but it's also mixed with truth. A lot of people will say, well, oh my God, is this a true story? Did you really go through all of this? And I always say it's like a great big pan of macaroni and cheese. You pick that up and just sprinkle the truth through there, in and out. You read it and see for yourself. And so I've had people sometimes to ask me about certain things in the book, and they say, well, did that happen to you? And when I have to say yes to those things, they're very shocked. Well, nobody could go through all of that, but yes, they can. It's just how you come out on the other end. As I began to introduce this book to the world, something interesting happened. The book started speaking back, not just to me, but to other readers, especially those who had experienced pain in places they were told were supposed to be safe. You think your home is safe, you think church is safe, you think being around your friends are safe, you can say and be who you are, but that is not always the case. So what I learned from the readers was that they didn't just want to read this story, they wanted to see it. They wanted to feel it, and they wanted to process it. And that's how The Brownie, An Unforgettable Trip, the stage play production, was birthed forth. We didn't just create a play, we created what I call a mirror to hold up in front of your face. For the audience, for the cast, for the community to look directly into it and acknowledge and recognize themselves and the trauma that they unknowingly carry, that they have seen and heard, but thought it was something else. Again, that's just the way she is. It's not just the way she is, it's the trauma that was deposited inside of her. The Brownie Theater Therapy production became more than entertainment. It became a voice for youth and teens to express the challenges that they are facing without being pointed out, without being disregarded, without being ridiculed, without having a bias or stigma placed on them as though there's something wrong with them. But also with this newfound confidence that they find in using theater in their ability to express themselves, they create a community of support and understanding of other people's challenges. Through that process, something beautiful has happened, especially among my cast. My cast are not just actors, they are also survivors, they are also observers, truth tellers, and most importantly, they are healers in the making. When we initially did our stage production and we completed our suicide scene and we closed the curtain, what happened behind the curtain that no one saw was very impactful to me. The gentleman that played the father of the young lady that tried to kill herself in the play became extremely emotional. He sat on the floor and just cried. The young lady cried. And so what was going on there was the impact and the feeling of the sadness of the fact that this young lady felt so hopeless, even playing a part. She felt so hopeless that she wanted to give up her life. So she wanted to do a temporary action that would have permanent ramifications. And so that right there spoke volumes to me about the power of this message that was being played out on the stage. And so what we did as the Brownie cast, we turned pain into performance, I'd like to say. But more importantly, we turned storytelling into a safe space. Now we'll talk about the win, how it goes from performance to purpose. So over time, the evolution of my book series and the theater production became clearer and clearer to me. The production has began to change. I realized that its true purpose began to radiate on stage and in the feedback and response of the attendees. Even the cast's purpose began to change along with me as the director. I realized the message in the production was growing deeper and exposing more vulnerability, more passionate, and it was more of a champion for youth and teens' mental health, wellness, and challenges. We started holding spaces not just for rehearsals, but for reflection, even among the cast and the young people that are a part of our production. This group has evolved into something new. I say it is now something that is very intentional. We now call it the Brownie Collective, so we've leveled up. It is a theater and therapy group that blends the art of performance with the art of healing in the form of what we call vignettes that address a number of different mental health challenges. So for us now, this is not just acting, this is activism. This isn't just therapy now, this is transformation on stage. We perform, we process, and we push for mental health wellness from the inside out. And out of all of this, I recently founded the Safe Space Theater Therapy Foundation. Now, if you had told me years ago that I would have a nonprofit, for what? What I need a nonprofit for? But you know, they say if you want to make God laugh, tell me your plans, because I had no plans of doing that. But as of today, I now have the Safe Space Theater Therapy Foundation. And this foundation gives space for discussion, expression, and responding with respect, dignity, and safety to our youth and teens. So why did I choose this name, Safe Space? I begin with the word safe. So I chose that because our youth are constantly searching for where they can be fully seen and heard and accepted for how they enter the room. Theater, because storytelling disarms us, lets us access emotions that we often suppress, especially as young people. So they aren't being shown, our youth are not being shown what emotional intelligence looks like and problem resolution. And so through acting, we can help to teach them that. By teaching this can bring about peace and respect while disagreeing or feeling in a negative manner. Again, teaching our children a different way through the use of theater. Social media, social media is the example they have of how to deal with their feelings, okay? And how to express them with words that express what they feel, but in a manner that is positive, renewing, and restoring for both parties. That's what we're looking for, and that's not what's being done with social media right now. But we can turn around and use it for that. So it looks like we're raising a generation that's more connected than ever, yet many of them feel completely alone. Our teens are constantly online, they're scrolling, they're comparing, they're performing, they're watching how other people who are just putting on a show respond to things, and they in turn are learning from them instead of learning from us. Social media is teaching our kids how to perform emotion, but not how to process them, okay? They can perform it and act it out, but they don't know how to process it. So we are raising this generation that can tweet about I'm feeling sad or depressed. They can put out little captions about how they're feeling, or they'll go do a TikTok and do something crazy on it. Really, when all it is they're traumatized or upset by something. And yet, they don't always know how to sit with their own feelings. And sometimes some of us as adults. They don't know how to name them or work through them in a safe way. And that's where Safe Space comes in to be a help to them. Next, I want to address therapy, because naming the pain is the first step toward healing it. Now I have to act like I'm in church and say that again, because naming the pain is the first step towards healing it. I almost want to say, can I get an amen? Amen. And through this foundation, we work with teens and young adults. We use teen moderators. So we have local teens that are in high school. They're the ones that facilitate the discussion. Okay, so they talk with the panelists and ask them questions. They also ask questions of the audience. We have expert panelists in the field of mental health and social work and the use of stage play scripts, focusing on a specific area of mental health. For example, a few weeks ago, I had one called Dad Strong, and we had a script that we used where the dad was able to talk with the son about what the pressures are and the challenges are of being a dad and what that looks like. And we had a lot of people that resonated with that. We act out these scenes to help them be able to discuss their feelings and their thoughts. So in return, this opens up a space for dialogue, okay? Especially for those kids that have experienced trauma, neglect, spiritual confusion, or family dysfunction. Okay, so this isn't your traditional therapy. This is what I call creative wellness. And if you're wondering, why did she choose therapy? Well, let me ask you this. How many of us hid behind a smile when we were struggling, or maybe still do? Not only children do this, we as adults do this also, because many of us are still carrying trauma and we're passing it down unknowingly. When I got married, my husband saw me come down the aisle in that beautiful long white gown, but he didn't see that large trunk of trauma back there that was dragging behind me. Okay, he saw the cute little figure in a gown, but he didn't see that trunk. It was full of some mess. It only opened at night when I slept. That's what was interesting. I had nightmares from trauma that I had experienced. The memories would come into my dreams and they grabbed me with a tight grip, and only my cries for help, which were heard by my husband, were able to release me, because he would hold me tight and whisper words of comfort to me in my ear, which would pull me out of that deep, deep well or that traumatic feeling that I experienced. And it always made me feel like I'd been in a fight. I was emotionally and mentally exhausted from that. Again, that's childhood trauma. It's never been talked about. It's trauma from sexual assault by someone that you trusted as a child, but you couldn't go and talk to your parent about it. I've shared once before. I made a promise after my first sexual assault that I would never tell my mother, that she would leave this earth and never know what happened to her daughter. And that's what happened. And some people say, why can't you tell? Well, because I couldn't, as a teenager, go and tell my mom that, because the focus would not have been immediately on what happened to me. It would have been, why were you there? Well, I was there because I thought I was in a safe space. And also, crazy as it sounds, I also had to protect my assailant. And you may say, Felicia, why would you do that? Because one thing I knew about my mother, this woman right here, when she said I would come into a church and blow your brains out, I knew that she meant it. And I didn't even though he had done that to me and traumatized me and shamed me with that, I could not share it with her, and I had to protect him and protect her. Does that make sense? I know it sounds a little crazy. And so with all that, it was a bit crippling for me. Seeing examples of domestic violence, I was a fighter. That was how I expressed my feelings and emotions, especially boys. It was something about fighting a guy that just really made me feel good. That was bad, but that was part of the trauma, and I didn't know that. So again, if I had something like safe space, I could have had a place to go and talk to them and feel that I would be having a confidant to share that with. And maybe some of these women's sons out here wouldn't have scars and bruises from me right now. I know, it's bad. Oh, so let me get back on track a little bit. So I thought when forming theater and therapy, what if performance could be used not to hide the truth, but to reveal it? What if the stage could be a place to not just entertain, but to heal? So now I move along to my now. The book series, The Movement. Just this past Saturday, I celebrated the release of my final book in the Ways trilogy. It's called Josie's Ways of Grace, Echoes of Betrayal. For me, it was a full circle moment of this family that had gone through all this intergenerational trauma, passed down unknowingly. It is a project that started as a story about surviving intergenerational trauma, religious hypocrisy, domestic violence, and mental health. But it has become a legacy about thriving, okay, about surviving. And we're just getting started. So through the Brownie Collective and the Safe Space Foundation, we are now developing more workshops, more team moderator peer wellness sessions, and more much needed conversations with our teens and even our adults, because the adults also share their experiences with the children, which I think is good, because kids need to know that, yeah, we were kids once before, and we can relate to that. When they say, well, I don't think you understand what I feel or how I feel, what I think. We do, because we've been there. We're teaching young people to speak what hurt them, reclaim their power, understand what healthy relationships and faith really look like beyond a performance. We are breaking generational cycles of silence and shame. And as I come to my closing, I want to leave you with this. Healing is a community project. Okay? So if you're looking for some projects to do in the community, healing is a community project. We cannot wait for trauma to knock on our own door before we care. That's why this kind of work, theater, this creativity, community-based, and truth-telling type theater therapy works. We are raising a generation that is more emotionally aware, but mentally overwhelmed. They don't need perfection from us. They need permission. They need examples. Good examples. They need permission to question, to heal, to be human. So as leaders today, I ask you to consider the following. How can you make your community safe for truth when it comes to the youth and teens, when it comes to dealing with their thoughts, their emotions, and their feelings? How can you use your resources, your spaces, and your voices to support mental wellness? Because if healing doesn't happen with us, it may not happen at all. So I thank you for letting me share my story, and thank you for being part of what I hope will be a larger, louder, and more loving movement. One where trauma is addressed, faith is real, and our young people know that no matter what, that we love them just as they are. So let's keep making spaces, safe spaces for that kind of future. Thank you.
There might be a question, but Sherry is,
How many teams have you got involved about that?
I have a total of 16 moderators. 6 moderators. The attendance can fluctuate. Sometimes it's 60 students that come out. Sometimes it's 25 or 35. But my stand on that is it can be 3. If that's the 3 that need it, then that's the 3 that we give it to. We also involve them in the safe space sessions. They get to actually do what I call a code read. We give them the script based on what the mental health area that we're focusing on, and we let them act it out. And so that allows them to get an opportunity, to express themselves as well. Thank you.
so are you here in Jackson?
I'm in Clinton, yes.
One of our projects is the Baptist Children's Village, and we started with taking Christmas presents. We've had cookouts, we've taken them over here to Spinners, and what I have wanted to do, just don't know how to pull it off, is for us to plug in and have more one-on-one interaction. So, sitting here listening to you, and these kids are not there because they've had a rosy background. And I had a conversation with one of them, she's been there for 2 or 3 years. Her story, she told me a lot of it, and it was like, how are you sitting here with the appearance of that you look sort of together? Mm-hmm. She's like, I don't trust people. I'm like, I don't know how you could trust people with what you've done. So anyway, say all that to say, I don't know what it would mean, but I think I would love for us to be able to partner with you to do something with them. I think that might be the way that we could, we're looking for ways to make a difference in our community.
Right.
And I have seen that, hey, there's a need there. I just didn't know how to pull it off. So, because kids are not my calling. But anyway.
And not only the theater piece, I've also done safe space with art therapy, which they really enjoyed that as well. Paint their own expressions or paint a picture.
Well, I just, I don't know what it would look like. I just throw that out to say, hey.
Okay, you gave it to me. I'm going to take it and make it into something.
Okay,
That's what women do.
And then make it into something, and then come back to us and say, hey,
This is what we got.
How can this is how we can make this work together.
How we can partner together. Exactly. I love it.
It's amazing. So I do, Lauren, I'm one of the counselors, with a mentorship program. We're about to start that back up, but I've heard stories that, a kid watched uncle kill mom or, assault mom, just all kind of crazy stories like that. So, and then we try to have those conversations with them about how not to display that rage while they're in school. And I've had the conversation with the kid, and then that afternoon go back in there, because my wife used to work up there, go back in there for something else, and he is sitting in the office where he just pummeled a kid, and we just had the conversation happening. I mean, we're talking about a kid bigger than me in elementary school, breaks his pencil, breaks down, just crying because he remembered, hey, I was just told how to handle this conflict. But there's so much emotion that's built up in these kids that is an amazing idea, an opportunity for them to get that out.
And a lot of times, it's a good idea. We let them, create your own script. One of the things I just finished this summer was the theater program with the Jackson Medical Mall, where I taught the kids how to actually write their film scripts. And so they write the scripts and the monologues, and at the end of the sessions, at the end of the summer, when it finished and wrapped, they were able to present those. The young people that wanted to present. So it was really a big moment for me to see them and to give them confidence that they could write a script, and act it out.
Wow. Well, we have got a certificate for you.
Oh, thank you,
So
sir.
we want to say thank you so much for coming out.
Thank you.
This has
I
been phenomenal.
appreciate
Should we get a
it.
picture? If we need to move for the glare, just listen. Okay, thank you. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you all
I mean,
so much. Thank you. I greatly appreciate that. And I want to just also share the flyer that she passed out. That's from the previous production that we had, the big brownie flyer. I just wanted to share that with you all. We had that out at Hines Community College. And I do have 3 book sets if anybody's interested in any of the series, or if you go on Amazon or Ingram Sparks or Books A Million, you can find it. Let me also put out, we are looking for opportunities to host a dinner theater and to present one of our mental health vignettes, and maybe partner with somebody on that, maybe at their church. I'm also looking to do a mental health event dealing with the stresses of ministry. I have so much stuff that's going on. So my contact information is in there. Please reach out to me because I'm looking for opportunities to get this word out. And we will be soliciting for new team moderators beginning in January 2026.
Well, how can you get one of your books?
She got
Right
it.
here.
Oh,
I think all 3 may be in there.
wonderful. Well, now, how much are your books, and let us know.
This is a 3-part set, and so I'm selling that for $60. So they're $20 a piece. Yeah, I think all 3 are in there.
That is super.
So now taking a picture of that, so we can definitely advertise it for you.
Thank
All right.
y'all so much. And please be in touch with me if you have any ideas where we might can partner and do some things. I'm looking forward to it. Thank y'all.
Thank you so much.
And thank you, Tim.
Yes, thank you.
This is one of our veterans. She has been in the
Yes, yes.
We appreciate our veterans.
Thank you for your service. Yes.
That's what friend support looks like right there.
I love it. All righty, with everybody, our next meeting, I believe.
It's my friend Tim. She supported me at the South Rankin Rotary Club. Thank you.